I didn't move the estate because I distrusted my family. That's what I told myself. I moved it because my grandfather, in the last year before his stroke, had started saying things that didn't quite fit his usual optimism. He would sit in the kitchen of the old colonial house in Surrey Hills, stir his tea longer than necessary, and say, "Paperwork shows you who people think they are." I had just finished my degree at the University of Michigan. Political science. Nothing dramatic, no family celebration beyond a polite dinner. My parents, Martin and Claire, kept steering the conversation toward next steps and long-term security. My sister Emily nodded along like she already knew the ending. The house had been my grandparents'. Not enormous, not a mansion, just 4 bedrooms, aging oak floors, and a backyard that backed into a narrow stretch of protected woods. Paid off decades ago. Worth more now than anyone admitted out loud. When Grandma passed, the will was clean, the property transferred to me. Not out of favoritism, she said, but because I was the one who listens. That worried me more than it flattered me. A month after graduation, I scheduled a meeting with a solicitor in Ann Arbor. Not because anything had happened. Because something might. The trust was simple. Irrevocable. The house would be HUD under its protection. I would serve as trustee. Any changes would require independent oversight and written verification. It wasn't aggressive. It was precautionary. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell Emily. For a few weeks, nothing shifted. Then the comments started to angle. "You're young," my mother said one afternoon while walking through the house uninvited. "Managing property is complicated." Emily began referring to it casually as the family house, as if possession were communal. My father, who rarely raised his voice, grew oddly certain about things. Granddad would have wanted it consolidated. Consolidated, I noticed how often they used that word. The day they showed up grinning. It felt rehearsed. Emily carried a folder. My parents stood on either side of her like bookends. My mother was smiling too wide. "We've handled the paperwork," she said. "It makes sense for the house to be in Emily's name now. It's cleaner." Emily slid documents across the dining table. A transfer deed. My signature printed neatly at the bottom. It wasn't my signature. They were proud of how clean it looked. "You're out by Friday," my father added gently, as though offering an extension on a hotel checkout. I remember how still I felt. Not angry. Not shocked, just confirmed. "You really think I'd let that happen?" I said. They mistook the calm for bluffing. 2 days later, they came back with movers. A white truck idled at the curb. 2 men in matching polos began unloading dollies. Emily stood near the mailbox, scrolling through her phone like she was waiting for catering. I had made one call after they left that first afternoon. When the movers reached the porch, they stopped. Standing beside me were Mr. Halpern, the estate attorney who structured the trust, and a Washtenaw deputy sheriff in uniform. Badge visible. Clipboard in hand. My mother's smile cracked first. The deputy stepped forward before anyone else could speak. His voice was neutral, practiced. "Mom, sir. This property is held under an irrevocable trust established 6 weeks ago. Any attempted transfer is invalid without trustee authorization and independent verification." Emily blinked. "That's not what we filed." Mr. Halpern opened his folder. "The document you submitted to the county clerk contains a falsified signature and improper witnessing. It has already been flagged. There will be a formal review." My father's composure evaporated in stages. "You went behind our backs." I almost laughed at the phrasing. "No," I said quietly. "I went ahead." The deputy continued, unmistakable now. "If you remain on the property without permission, I'll have to issue a trespass notice." The movers stood frozen halfway up the walkway. Emily's face reddened, first anger, embarrassment, disbelief, all tangled together. "You planned this." "I prepared," I answered. The difference mattered to me, even if it didn't to them. They started shouting then. Not threats, not violence. Just outrage. "How dare I, how could I, family doesn't do this." But family had. The deputy didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Authority rarely does when it's clear. The truck doors closed. The movers left. The lawn returned to quiet. My parents didn't say goodbye. Emily didn't look at me when she got into the car. The silence afterward felt heavier than any argument would have. I stayed on the porch longer than necessary. The house didn't feel victorious. It felt older. I understood something then that my grandfather had been circling around. Protection isn't revenge. It's an admission. You protect what you believe might be taken. Inside, the floors creaked the same way they always had. The trust didn't repair anything, it didn't punish anyone. It simply stood between intention and outcome. Weeks later, a letter arrived from my father. No apology, just confusion. We thought you'd share. I didn't respond. The house remains in the trust. Tax as scheduled. No drama. Just structure. Sometimes I wonder if I moved too early. If suspicion shaped the outcome. But when I replay the forged signature in my mind, neat and confident, I know the answer. I didn't win anything. I just refused to lose what was never theirs to take.